commas in addresses. First, let's talk about what an address is. An address is where someone lives, so it's where you live, your house, your apartment, your business, your school. Everything that you can mail something to has an address. Yes, even the White House has an address because somebody lives there and works there. It has a person's name, the street address. This is the building number, the house number, and the street that you live on, the city, and the state. Now in Georgia, we have what's called zip codes that come after the state. Today, we're not going to worry about writing a zip code in a sentence. Commas go after each part of the address. So after the street address, after the city, and some maybe after the state. It just depends on how it's written. This is not how you would write an address on an envelope. This is just as if we are writing it in a sentence. Here's an example. Mark Samuels, 423 Palm Avenue, Miami, Florida. Mark Samuels is his name, so I put a comma after it. 423 Palm Avenue is where he lives. That's his street address, so I'm going to put a comma after that. He lives in Miami. That's the city, so I put a comma after the city. And finally, the state that he lives in is Florida. Here's some interactive questions. We'll give this a try. Mr. Kane once lived at 542 White Road, Tarrytown, New York. You can see that this is a complete sentence. It has a subject, Mr. Kane, and it has a predicate, lived at 542 White Road, Tarrytown, New York. It has a period and a capital letter. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to look for the parts of the address. Mr. Kane is part of the subject, so he does not get a comma after it because I'm not listing him as part of the address. I know that's confusing. The first part of the address is 542 White Road. That's the street that he lives on, so I put a comma after that. The city that he lives in is Tarrytown, so I put a comma after Tarrytown. New York is the state that he lives in. There's no comma after New York because it's the end of the sentence and there's a period. Here's another interactive question, and I think it might be a little easier for you. Hembry Springs is located at 815 Hembry Road, Roswell, Georgia. You should see a state that's familiar to you and a city that is familiar to you. Hembry Springs is the subject, is located at 815 Hembry Road, Roswell, Georgia, is the predicate. It's got a period, and my proper nouns are capitalized. I'm going to look for the street address, the part of the address that's the street. Can you find it? It includes the building number and the road. Yup, it's 815 Hembry Road, so I put a comma after that. What is the city? Say it out loud. Good, Roswell. The state is Georgia, but since it's the end of the sentence, there's no comma after Georgia, just a period. For your practice question tonight, you are going to practice writing your own address in a sentence. This is also a way to practice your address because you should know your address just for safety reasons and because it's always good to know where you live. Make sure to include the commas after the street and the city. Include your house number or your apartment number. Now, if you live in an apartment, it could be a little confusing, so you might have to ask your parents what apartment number you live in or how your address is written on an envelope. If you live in a house, you should have a house number and a street. Then you should have a city and a state. Remember, we all live in the state of Georgia, so include that on there. You might want to pause the video just to write the sentence. Remember, you have a period at the end of your sentence, and the city, the state, and your road that you live on are all proper nouns, so they should be capitalized. That's right. Come in with any questions you have.